Hello, and welcome to Daily Palantir number 11. This is the 11th edition of Daily Palantir, and I'm really happy right now. I'm really excited. You know why I'm excited? You know why I'm excited right now? Like, I'm more excited than I've ever been, really, this entire week. It's because I just checkmated the crap out of my cousin. Okay, it was 9 o'clock. He's like, yo, let's get a game of chess. He's staying over my house for a week. He's from India. Kid's 15 years old. The kid's been beating me at chess, like legitimately 7-0 some nights. And I'm just like, because like he plays this shit all day, so he gets it, right? I'm 24. I've been 25. I haven't played chess my entire life. I like chess. I know a little. I know chess. I wouldn't say I'm an expert or anything, but I'm definitely not the best at it. So this kid's been checkmating the crap out of me. And in this game just now, he took my queen. He took my rook, took my bishop. He took everything, but he left his king at the end, and there were 3 pawns in front of it, so he had nowhere to go other than left or right. And then I didn't even notice I was going to checkmate him, and I took my my rook, popped it right there. Motherfucker had nowhere to move. So I finally checkmated him after I beat him like 3 or 4 times, but it's like 20-3 if we count up the score. So that was a good checkmate, bro. That was a good ass checkmate. That was a fun checkmate. That was awesome. That was great. Anyway, we're here. Thank you, 84 people, for being here. It's still 9:14, so it's a minute before we have to start, so you can get in, get comfy. Diseased Kodak, Harry, Wild, Broccoli, Bob, Kane, Frost, Technical Trader, Wong, Mr. Seymour Duck, Moody, Sam Chan, Joel, Jabak Music. Jabak, you make some music, bro? You got some music on your channel? Because I'm trying to hear it. I'm about to go to your channel right now. You got some music? Music. Do you actually make music? Because I love discovering new music. Go to channel. Do you make music? Oh, no, you don't make any music. Okay, well, I thought you made some music. I was like, oh, we got a beat maker in the house. Gonna listen to some music. Thank you for being here, man. I appreciate Lawrence Young. Thank you all for being here. John, thank you for being here. Yo, Amit, what's good, brother? Did Warren change your mind on Tesla? Guys, my mind is not... I'm not a Tesla bear, bro. Y'all got to stop acting like I'm a Tesla bear. I love Tesla. I think they could be a $7-8 trillion company. I personally am not going to get the return that I could get in Tesla right now, but in the banks, specifically the options I have on the banks. That's the only reason I'm not invested in Tesla. If not, of course I would put money in Tesla. I'm just limited on cash, and currently the funds are not going into to Tesla. That's okay, because Q2 earnings might stink up the joint, and I might get that dip that I want when I have some cash to buy up some Tesla. So, and it's not just Tesla. It might be the entire stock market. Q2 is going to be pretty rough. So we'll see kind of what happens there. We'll talk more about it on Finance Junkies tonight and keep going from there. Kelly, is that why you asked if I wanted to play chess? You wanted to play with me? No, I was just curious if you play chess. I didn't actually want to play with you, but I was just curious if you want to play chess. All right. LT's coming. Congratulations. Let's talk Palantir now. I love it. The first 2 minutes, me telling you guys how I checkmated my cousin, vicious checkmate. And he's like, great job. Great story. Now let's talk Palantir. So I think Adam should be joining. So Adam will join us in a little bit and we'll talk. But we've got a lot to cover. Okay. First, I'm going to go through the stock price action. And then we'll get into the many different things that happened today. Again, with covering Palantir, there's just a bunch of things happening every single day. So let's first discuss the stock. Okay. So today was the first day that we've had an actual decline. 7.28% down. 7.28% down on Palantir. It seems kind of crazy, right? We haven't had these days in a pretty long time, but we did have that day today. As you can see, we started the day at 1566. We ran up, decently in the pre-markets, and then it tanked. It was like 1590 pre-markets, and it just tanked immediately. Got to a low of about 1441, recovered just a little bit, but once we got into the 14s, we were stuck. And now after hours, we finish at $14.50. So it's not even at 1464 right now. What is the reason for this? This right here, do you see this massive decline at 1441, and then the dip gets bought right there from 1441 to 1468? That was like the entire market. Like, let me pull up NVIDIA right now. This is exactly what happened with most stocks today. The Fed spoke. You see this dip, right? So it opened at 435. This is when Jerome was speaking, and Jerome said his same hawkish stuff. Inflation 2%. We're not going to do anything. We're going to expect more rate hikes. All the same shit he's been saying, and the market tanked it. And then the dip gets eaten up. Every stock that declined today, the dip basically got eaten up, and it was really funny to see. Like, look at the chart. Goes all the way down, comes right back up, if not to where it started or very close to it, right? And I think there was no different today, even with Google, right? Coming down to 120 and then recovering back to 121. 0.8. I think the same thing happened with Palantir. So it was a macro-driven event today. Now, is Palantir a little overbought? Yeah, you could say it's a little overbought, especially with the earnings growth not being as strong as it is right now. So as a result of that, today was definitely a day for it to decline. SoFi declined. A lot of these companies declined, but they came back. Now, Palantir didn't come back to $15.96 that it opened with, or even anything close to that, but it did come back. It wasn't at the lows of 1440. So the dip was getting bought. It was not getting bought super aggressively, but it was indeed bought, just not bought as much as, it was bought for some of these other stocks. So I think a lot of the price action we saw today was macro driven. A lot of the price action was driven on Jerome, reiterating his hawkish statements. And as a result of that, the markets sold it off a little bit, and some people bought the dip and some people did not buy the dip. Again, Q2 is going to determine a lot for what happens with Palantir. Now, outside of that, let me pull up my Twitter, because this is the most important thing that happened today. I did a video on it, but the most important thing that happened today was this new interview that came out. Let me just real quick tweet out that I'm live now. Tweet Palantir live now. Okay, so cool. Okay, so this is what happened today. Lewis Mosley, the head of the UK for Palantir, gave an interview today. He gave a very long interview. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but he did give an interview. And in that interview, he was asked a variety of questions. Two things that I want to talk about, but I'll show this clip in the beginning. Number one, I want to talk about his comments on the NHS. Number two, I want to talk about his argument around defense spending in Europe and what's going on with defense spending in Europe. And I think those two things are what we're going to have to analyze. But first, let's analyze his comments on the NHS. This is a 30-second clip, and this is pretty much all you need to see to understand what happened today.
Process of bidding for about a £400 million contract. I know you don't want to get into the details of that bidding process, but can you just give us a sense as to your level of confidence as to whether or not that's going to fall to Palantir? Can you give us a nod as to how you feel about that process?
I'm really sorry, Tom. I can't comment on ongoing procurement processes.
Okay.
See that smile? You see that smile? You see that? All I'm saying is I think this deal is happening, bro. I'm sorry, Tom. I can't comment on the ongoing procurement processes. That means, I'm sorry, Tom, but we've won the deal and I cannot tell you right now. Like, that's what it sounds like to me.
Process of bidding.
That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like we got this deal. The way his body language was, his demeanor, his smile. They're like, can you tell us anything about it? He's like, I'm so sorry. I cannot say anything about how amazing we are. That's kind of how it felt like to me. There's a level of secretive confidence you have when you're answering these types of questions. And there's also this level of, I'm insecure confidence. And I think it was the former rather than the latter. It was him more so being like, versus like, I don't want to talk about it. The I don't want to talk about it is more so like, I don't know. Whereas the other one is, I think you're going to get it. I also think, this fits with the story really well. He didn't debate Corey Kreider. After watching this video, I think he would have demolished Corey Kreider, which is the head of Foxglove. He seemed like he reiterated sort of the key points. He explained what Palantir is, which is that it's not this evil company that wants to monetize your data. It's a company that actually cares about helping organizations leverage and use their data more effectively. I mean, like, he was pretty much, the one thing I didn't like about the interview was that his answers were really short. And I think that's just because he's media trained. So like his answers were like 20 seconds. I'm like, bro, you could say some more stuff. Like, that's okay. But he said things precisely and correctly. And as a result of that, I think the NHS ultimately called up Palantir and said, you don't need to do the debate because we know you're going to win the debate and we don't want to create some, big mess out of it. You guys are probably getting the deal. Again, this interview comes after a $31 million contract Palantir got yesterday to transition the data from a certain programs they're doing with the NHS into their federated data platform. So as a result of that, along with this interview, I think this deal is in a bag, bro. For everyone who was saying, oh, yesterday's contract doesn't mean anything. First of all, I think it means a lot. Second of all, this guy and his no, we can't talk about ongoing procurement. It's like, motherfucker, we're getting the deal. This shit's happening. Bro, what do you use to phantom power for your mic? So I use a Focusrite. I do know that the mic's a little hot, so I am sorry about that. Sometimes it picks up a little bit too much. I need to get a better compressor, but I use a Focusrite right now for this to go. Will the stock go up right away if we get the deal? No, I don't even think, honestly, I think by the time we get the deal in Q3, Q4, I don't know if the stock's gonna have any impact because again, the stock is a lot of premium, right? Like we got to remember it's up from $7.42 on May 4th. But who's keeping track? So if that's the case, like the stock's up a lot. There's a lot of and Palantir announced nothing special. They announced AIP Con, but that doesn't translate to revenue growth yet. So I think the premium we've gotten has been phenomenal. And I don't think the NHS deal deserves a premium. I think the implications for the NHS deal, speaking from a long-term investing perspective over the next 10 years, is just absolutely gigantic. And it's gigantic for this reason. And here's how we're going to transition. Okay. So the reason it's gigantic is because of the implication that the NHS deal has on other European countries that have socialized healthcare systems being able to use Palantir to resolve the inefficiencies that they have. Where have we seen Palantir do something in Europe and then have other European countries recognize how valuable Palantir software is because of the essential case study that we've created by using that country as our ability to showcase the software, and then potentially get more business as a result of that? Ukraine. And now we've all been theorizing, oh, well, Palantir's working in Ukraine, so Lithuania, the other Baltic states, Germany, they're increasing their defense spending, and they're going to want to make sure they have this type of software and technology because from everything that we've seen in Ukraine, Palantir is the thing that's keeping them alive. Today, Lewis Mosley basically confirmed that that's happening. So I want to take one more look at this interview and take a look at this clip where he basically says, yeah, we're getting a lot more interest in our product because of what's going on in Ukraine. Oh, I shared the wrong thing. Hold on. Did I share the wrong thing? Yeah, I shared the wrong thing. Hold on. 1 second. So StreamYard, present, share screen. Here it is. Okay.
You actually track it
Yes.
with how?
With NATO directly.
Actual dimension.
Back to the defense part, NATO has its own venture capital fund it's setting up, so it's going to be investing in some key technologies. Are you working with NATO directly? Are you expecting to get further contracts from NATO? And what does the spending in Europe, the ramped up defense spending, mean for your prospects in Europe?
Well, I think we've been in Ukraine, as you know, for the last 18 months. And I think that's opened the eyes, not just of Europe, but the wider world to where there might be gaps in military capability. People have seen what works on the battlefield and what doesn't. And clearly that has opened a great deal of opportunity for us around the world.
I mean, does that mean that policymakers in Berlin and elsewhere kind of tapping you on the shoulder saying, maybe it's about time we worked with you at a deeper level if we're not already? Are you getting that sense?
We are, yes.
Okay.
Boom. Right there. That's big, man. That's big. And I didn't even get to that part of the interview until I started recording the video. That was really interesting because he's like, are you getting tapped on the shoulder by these other countries that are saying, hey, we saw what you did in Ukraine. It's time we start working with you? Yes. That is the answer. Yes. Now, obviously, he can't comment any further on contracts or anything like that. But international revenue growth has not been good for Palantir. The CAGR in commercial has been 10%. Governmental revenue growth internationally also has sucked for Palantir. Even in the US, it hasn't been performing as well as it needed to. So we need a reacceleration of that governmental growth over the next couple of years, definitely over the next couple of quarters. And I don't know if Q2 is when that's going to happen, but we gave Ukraine probably a couple $100 million worth of free software. And so if that's the case, and the United States just gave Ukraine another couple $1 billion yesterday because of some accounting error or whatever. Look, if we're giving $1 billion, $100 billion or whatever to Ukraine, is Palantir going to get some of that? I think the answer is yes. And then is Palantir going to be a byproduct? Is there going to be revenue to Palantir as a byproduct of Germany and Sweden and all these other countries seeing what Palantir did with Ukraine? I think the answer is yes. And so unfortunately, the invasion happened. Fortunately, Palantir has been there and they licensed their software for free. And because they put impact over profits, but they realize that if their thing works, eventually they will make profits down the line. And so it only adds to the thesis of increased revenue growth and revenue acceleration in the governmental space. Again, there was a video that me and CoStrap did a while ago. I'm going to play a little bit of it in a second, where he said NATO will be begging for Palantir. And he predicted this a long time ago when this thing broke out. And he was just like, this is going to happen. And the reason this is going to happen is because they are going to have no other option other than Palantir. And if that's the case, that 0-1 philosophy in the defense spending is definitely going to happen. And it's going to be really exciting when that happens. I don't think Palantir was ever a $7 stock, so I believe we still have room to run. I agree. It's just, 18% year-over-year growth with a $30 billion. We're a $33 billion company with $2 billion in sales, in revenue. 18% year-over-year growth. 15 times sales. Is that justified? I don't know. The market thinks it is right now because of AI. I think the market's expecting them to grow. The market's expecting them to capture a decent portion of that market. So that's the reason we're getting that valuation. And then I think it'll be overvalued again in the future to the high side, but we got to get that growth. And if that happens, then it'll be pretty reasonable. Michael, finally caught you live, bro. I've been watching replays for a few days. Not the same. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. Definitely a done deal. I think it's a deal. I think we're getting this deal. I don't know why, but I get the feeling amidst go-tos, the King's Fianchetto, always opening G3 white with a silly smirk on your face despite seeing an army of pawns coming to break your buns. Bro, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what the fuck you just said because I don't know chess that well. I don't know what the King's Fianchetto, I know the Queen's Gambit is because of fucking Netflix. I don't know what the King's Fianchetto is. Now, I do know a lot about chess. I know about Magnus Carlsen. I know about Bobby Fischer. Like, I know that I'm a history nerd when it comes to chess. I'm a history nerd for anything. So I've gotten obsessed with the concept of chess, but I don't know these very specific nuanced tactics you're talking about. Like, I know what G3 is, but I don't know what King's Fianchetto is. But I checkmated the crap out of him before I got on this live. Bro. I was so happy. I didn't act like I was happy, but I was just like, oh. And then he was like, oh shit, that's checkmate. And I was like, gotcha. Like, I was like, I didn't even know it was checkmate, bro. That's how good of a checkmate it was. I didn't even know it was checkmate. That was awesome. Yes, 15x sales is very frothy. Now, Futtbucker, I'm going to call you out on something because you said last week $18 by next Friday. And that was last Friday ago. So you got to resolve that for me because you said 15x sales is very frothy, but you also said $18 last Friday. So you got to, what's your response to that in the chat? Were you sipping a little bit of that Kool-Aid, AI Kool-Aid last week, like all of us? Or is now you coming back to reality and 15x sales is too frothy? Palantir was $25 in October 2021, and now it's half. I still think it needs to go up 100% to be even. So what are you talking about Palantir being overbought? That goes for a minute. I disagree with this. In October 2021, interest rates were zero. So I fundamentally disagree with this premise. And I was stupid for buying it at $25 because I didn't understand valuations, unfortunately. I think I've learned a lot since then. But at $25, the company was like close to a $50 billion market cap with less than $1.5 billion in revenue, in annualized growth, annualized revenue. It didn't make any sense. Now, they were growing at 41% year over year, but I don't know 1.5 billion at a 50 billion market cap. You can give them that multiple, especially in 2021 when interest rates were zero, right? So I think interest rates have changed everything. Macro has changed everything. And now you can definitely make a case for Palantir being overvalued. Absolutely, you can do that. 17.15, pretty damn close. That's true. But I'm going to give you that. We got to 17.15. That is true. And then we came right back down, but you were right. I invested at 15.4. Hope the stock flies from here. I thought it crashed 8%. I think future is huge for this company. I agree. Now, again, I've been saying this on every single live stream. People have asked, are you buying right now? I'm not buying at $15. I'm not buying at $14.97. I'm not buying it currently. Do I want it to go to 11 or 12? No. My philosophy is if it keeps going up, I'm happy. If it goes down, I'll buy the dip. But 14, 15 right now, I don't want to buy. I want to see a little bit more qualitative stuff before we get to earnings. I might buy some calls before earnings, but for all, the investor in me says Q2 earnings are going to suck because I just can't logically assume they have AIP ramped up with tons of customers, tons of deals going through. I think that's Q3, Q4. I don't think that's Q2. Just like I think Tesla's Q2 is not going to be the best, especially with how much it's run up. So could there be a bigger dip? Yes. And we have to be ready for that, especially as it's run up 150% in like a month. But if they indicate something qualitatively that growth is going to start sparking like crazy, I don't think AIP Con was enough to prove that. Then maybe it's absolutely valued at this level. Let me pull, this is something new that Palantir brought up today, which is this new Fed start thing. I want to look at some comments and then we'll take a look at that. 14.5 is a dip compared to 17. 17 was for like 4 seconds. I don't think 14.5 is a dip. So I don't know if exactly that's the full dip we're waiting for. Stupid question. If we do receive governmental contracts from other countries, would it be governmental revenue still or consumer revenue? It would be governmental revenue, right? So there's government and commercial, not government and consumer. Commercial is like companies internationally, like the CNA partnership we just did, or BP. Government is like the UK Ministry of Defense gave us $91 million. The DoD $110 million contracts we got from the Space Force last week. All of that is government. So government growth has not been good over the past couple of quarters. Commercial growth in the United States has been catering at 67%. So remember on the earnings call, some analyst was like, how do you guarantee GAAP profitability for the year? And David Glazer, the CFO, looked him dead in the face. He was like, focus on U.S. commercial. U.S. commercial is how we will get GAAP profitable. If U.S. commercial sucks, then you can sell our stock. That's basically what he said, right? But if U.S. commercial is good, you buy this fucking stock right now because we're going to be GAAP profitable. And so I think U.S. commercial is what they're banking on at the end of the day to get this year. Do you think they'll beat 12 to 14% growth Q2? I don't know. I want to say yes, but I don't know because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume Q2 is going to be a little tough for them. And that's okay because it's going to be tough for a lot of companies, especially with people not spending as much money, student loans coming back. Like just in general, the whole macro is going to be a little over the next couple of months, and that's okay. And Q2 SaaS companies don't really close deals as much as Q3, Q4. So I really don't. But then again, Q1, I didn't have high expectations and they beat revenue by 19 million. They showed 4 million of profits from operations. So I have no idea what to expect. Is there an NVIDIA 60% revenue growth quarter coming Q2? I don't think so. Could there be something at a slight beat, which is decent enough for the market to not tank it? Yes. But we'll have to see. I don't know if the market gives them a massive growth rate. But Glazer sold. Glazer did sell. Someone on the board today sold 11,000 shares. Not a crazy amount, but someone on the board did sell as well. We are all drinking the AI Kool-Aid. That is correct. Drinking that AI Gatorade. Know what I mean? Okay, let's look at Palantir's newest product today. Or I don't know if it's a new product. I didn't even get a chance to look at this, but this is what they tweeted. I'll make a video on this a little bit later, probably tomorrow. But this is what they tweeted today. Palantir FedStart enables innovators to run their products within Palantir's secure, already accredited environment. If accreditation is a blocker, learn how Palantir FedStart can help your solutions into the hands of the US government. So my elementary understanding of what they're saying right now, okay, is that Palantir's IL6 certification, they have accreditation to the highest security level that the DoD provides at IL6. So I'm assuming this is a service that they're providing to SaaS companies to help them get governmental revenue, which is super smart. I mean, it's definitely a consulting type of service. I doubt this is like some type of software. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But this is the way for other competitors in the governmental space to get governmental contracts. These are like subcontractors, right? Definitely not, I would say, pure software primes, but probably software contractors that need Palantir's expertise to be able to run some of that business. So let's read a little bit of this blog and see what they're trying to say. Each year, the U.S. federal government spends around $100 billion on software, representing a massive opportunity for your software company to make an impact. That is, if you can gain access. Look at that if right there. That if is italicized. So they're kind of implying you got to be in the big boys club to get this. Obtaining the requisite federal accreditation for SaaS solutions is time-consuming, labor-intensive, and costly. Even if your company can afford the $1 million price tag, the opportunity cost of the lengthy accreditation process is enormous, and it hits young, innovative companies such as LLMs and generative AI startups the hardest. Pursuing FedRAMP and impact level accreditations, remember Palantir has IL6, explained in detail below, can require resource diversion potentially for years away from product innovation, revenue growth, customer support, fundraising, and everything else necessary to scale a company. Palantir's own journey to FedRAMP and IL5 took over 4 years of navigating sponsorships, proof of concepts, and ultimately 60 people from across 25 different teams working full-time for an entire year to achieve. That just shows you that the bear cave dude that I was talking to, I was like, what about IL6? He's like, what about it? Well, it takes 4 or 5 years to actually even get to IL5. It takes a crap ton of political lobbying and people going all over the place. That's why it's important, because you can only get certain contracts if you have that accreditation, and you don't get those contracts if you're a consulting firm. So I don't want to read through all of this, but okay, right here. Palantir FedStart is the proverbial scissors that can cut through all this red start. FedStart serves as an on-ramp to help you deliver your SaaS products. Your company's products are run within Palantir's secure and accredited environment. Oh, okay. So they're allowing SaaS companies to run their software, their products, on top of Palantir's accredited environment, which means you don't need a separate FedRAMP or IL5. Basically, if the DoD wants to give you some money, but they can't guarantee you're going to keep everything accredited, secure, protected, etc., you can use Foundry, I'm assuming, or FedRAMP is what they're calling it, which just might be an instance of Foundry, to be able to then build the product on top of it, and the DoD can then guarantee that because Palantir is securing it, the product will be fine. If you can containerize your software, you can use FedStart in weeks to sell an accredited solution for quick product delivery and impact. FedStart unlocks FedRAMP, Moderate, and IL5, the security accreditations required to sell civilian agencies in the Department of Defense, respectively. FedStart is on track to support FedRAMP High and IL Level 6 within the next year. That's really cool. Usage-based pricing, accreditation as a service, seamless integration. So it seems like this might have the same types of margin. I was wrong. I thought this was like a consulting-based. It seems like this is software. They're ultimately selling their platform at the end of the day. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're selling their software as a platform that is accredited, and as a result, people can use it. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'll do a video a little bit more on this tomorrow, and then they talk about what this means for LLMs and generative AI. I'm sure they're talking about secure AI infrastructure in a meaningful way, because if you're going to use LLMs and AI, you got to make sure that the data is secure. And Palantir's FedRAMP platform will allow you to have an accredited environment to be able to build your platform on top of. That makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me. Another product, not bad. It's definitely a niche market with defense contractors, but if they need to sell, then they could potentially use Palantir software there. 5,000 shares. Strongs will be acquiring every win until we're into the S&P 500. Yeah, that's another catalyst. Sometimes if we forget in these catalysts, that's another S&P 500. Healthcare companies will adopt this really quick. I agree. I think there's a lot of healthcare companies that may want to sell to the government in a particular way, and they need to do it in a secure and accredited environment. Man, there are so many things I'm researching about healthcare right now. I'm actually talking to someone from Twitter tonight. I'm doing a podcast with him about specifically implementing Palantir in healthcare. Healthcare is it's such a crazy opportunity. This is why, when people say Palantir is the Salesforce, I'm like, bro, Salesforce is boring. Like, Palantir is not boring. And maybe Palantir ends up as the same market cap as Salesforce, but you look at, I can make 10 videos on healthcare with a different topic. I can make 10 different videos on energy with a different topic. I can make 10 different videos on supply chains and logistics, each having a different topic. I can make 10 different videos on defense in a different topic. I can make 10 different videos on generative AI and LLMs at the intersection of Palantir with different topics. Like, there's just so many verticals that they operate in that it just, if they do hit an S-curve in a couple of them, even one of them, this could get really, really exciting. Really, really exciting. What else do we got? Okay, so I'm gonna put the StreamYard in the link in the chat in a second, because I know a couple of you wanted to come on live. We have Finance Junkies in about 20 minutes, but let's take a look at 2 minutes flashback from the past. Because Lewis Mosley today talked about defense spending, let's hear CodeStrap, who now works at PwC implementing Palantir Foundry for different clients, speak about why NATO will be begging for Palantir and what the TAM looks like for the defense space.
Absolutely eviscerated. We all know governments, go like the government spending goes up and down. The thing that I'm most impressed with is their role in the war in Ukraine. And if I'm reading between the lines correctly, don't worry about the government spending, because in my opinion, they're $100 billion company on government spending alone. If what happened,
that means the stock is at what, $50 or something? $100 billion company alone, just governmental TAM. So CodeStrap's obviously very bullish on it from a defense perspective.
Ukraine is reflective of reality. Because if it is, a NATO with that power in their hands is undefeatable. Period.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
And do you think they could sell to NATO?
They don't need to sell to NATO. NATO will be begging them for that technology. If it's doing what they're implying it's doing in Ukraine, yeah. 1,000% Go look at why the Russians T-72 is getting blown up and absolutely eviscerated. You know what the number one thing you got to do in a ground war is? Stop the fucking armor. You have to stop the armor. That shit will run through your cities like you weren't even there. You know what a tank does to fucking infantrymen? I don't think you guys understand. You have to stop the armor. If you stop the armor, you have a chance. You can dig in. You can fight a prolonged air war. You can survive the artillery. If you don't stop the armor, you're fucked. What happened in Ukraine? Javelin missiles and maybe Palantir technology. You guys read their articles about the golden eye in the sky, fighting. If they provided them with the visibility and where those tanks were, and that applied the Javelin missile to kill them all, and Karp is saying they're digesting it, that is a game changer, dude. Changes the entire landscape of NATO overnight.
It highlights a potential misreading of Cathie Wood's thesis, which is that she feels the government business will slow down. That's why she liquidated 37 million shares. She's back now with 5 million. If she truly believed in Palantir, she would have believed that the inevitability of chaos would validate their business model.
Give you some insight into Cathie Wood and her thesis there. Karp said, if you pull the plug on troops, they will never trust you again.
Yes.
Right? If you pull the plug because you're unpopular, they will never trust you again. And Cathie Wood is complaining about their lack of competitiveness due to some unnamed third party that might have a technology like theirs.
Yes.
Who do you think has better insight into the U.S. government and their spending patterns? Alex Karp, who's stating facts and reality, or Cathie Wood, who's spitting fucking nonsense? He knows what wins government contracts. It's trust. Period. End of fucking story. Do I trust you, motherfucker, to bring my people home alive or not? Period. And if you think it's anything else, go look at how long, who won those debates in the U.S. Army about Palantir dislodged the internal U.S. Army from their own fucking software, motherfucker.
Bro, I didn't get this shit when he was saying this was May 2022. I didn't get it when he was trust. When he was Alex Karp knows what it means to close government. I didn't get it. And that it's been a year later. I'm oh, I I'm starting to get what he was saying. And I think if we see European defense spending come to Palantir, Coach Rep will have been completely correct.
Dude, because they brought people home alive, you know? Like, dude, no, it's not, it's stupid. Like, to even debate it is, in my mind, again, not financial advice. In my mind, it's dumb because they're delivering on what everyone wants, you know? They're delivering on the promise, which is, we'll bring you home alive and we'll defeat the adversary.
And let's hypothetically assume a company can do 80% of their software for 40% cheaper. It's still the trust component that you think secures deals, right?
Look, man, I don't know about you, but like if I was someone who was in charge of a lot of people's lives, I probably don't care about the marginal cost differential. You know?
And I have an unlimited budget because I'm the government. You know,
I care more about like, does your shit work? You know, is it going to deliver? I mean, again, these are the most high stakes environments ever. Sorry, Mrs. So-and-so, that your husband didn't come home because I wanted to save 50 cents on the dollar.
Damn, bro. Damn. Like I didn't get that at that time. Like, that's what Alex, exactly, Ren. That's what Alex Cart means by ask the Russians. You hear that, bear cave? Sleeping in your little cave like a little bear all alone because you don't actually listen. That's what Alex Cart means by ask the Russians. Because if you got to call somebody and say your husband's not coming home because you want to save 50 fucking cents because you wanted to use something cheaper. Germany does. I mean, Germany has wives who want their husbands back home. Ukraine, right? Like, all these countries have the same universal truth, which is let's not like die. And if this shit doesn't help us, it helps us not die. Let's probably spend a little money on this shit. That's what ask the Russians actually means.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
Maybe egos get in the way, but it's not about a cost differential. Not, I mean, maybe in 10 years if things keep going the way they are, but at this stage, it's not about a cost differential. Yeah.
And so the argument that the governments kind of they do it from the cheapest case, it's like it works in some governmental contracts, but when you're talking about mission critical stuff, it's a little bit more difficult.
Who the fuck do you think is the first person on the phone when there is a crisis like Ukraine? Is it a coincidence Palantir was like the first company on the ground there helping with the refugee crisis? Not that they weren't, but if you think that's the only thing they were doing, and mysteriously all the T-72s got blown the fuck up like 6 weeks later, you're out of your goddamn mind. You know how you blow up a T-72 with a fucking Javelin missile? You know where they're at.
Damn. Like, bro.
Because they dome those motherfuckers, you know? It's not line of sight. So just let me tell you, dude, like, in my opinion, they've been involved. Everything says they've been involved. I have no inside information about that. I have no idea, but based on what they're insinuating and the kill rate of those tanks and the fact it's all been Javelin missiles, how could they not be involved? Right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, everything they said this week is like making me think, oh, yeah, and they're digesting it. What does that mean? It means that NATO has a new leg up. And if it's the advantage that this war is showing it is, bro, 100 billion just on the government, in my opinion.
Wild, bro. Wild. Again, the StreamYard, for those who wanted to join in the chat right now, you can join and ask a question live. We have about 15 minutes till finance junkies. I haven't even watched that clip in a year. Me showing it to you guys was actually the first time I've watched it in a really long time. What CodeStrap was speaking about, and again, it's relevant today because of what Lewis mostly said in terms of defense spending. That's how I see the two catalysts in defense and healthcare. So Palantir does amazing stuff with COVID, vaccine distribution, all that stuff. NHS deal potentially happens as a result of that. Then the NHS deal sets the precedent for probably hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of more contracts over the next decade in the healthcare space for digitally optimizing systems. I mean, this one contract is going to be worth $500 million, right? More than $500 million. That's one way we can see their growth trajectory. Then the second trajectory you have is defense. The Russian invasion of Ukraine unfortunately happened. Palantir gave their software for free. You saw what the results are there, and that's, CodeStrap talking very eloquently about why those Russian tanks disappear, because you know where they're at. Meta Constellation, Edge AI, all that stuff, Gotham. And so you got other countries now who have unlimited budgets for defense because it's taxpayer funded, that aren't worried if the shit, it costs 15 cents more. They're worried about someone not coming home at night, and they're willing to spend on that. You've got these two things that I don't think Wall Street is taking into account. I think Wall Street is looking at commercial growth. Wall Street is looking at AI adoption. I don't think Wall Street's looking at defense, and I definitely don't think Wall Street's looking at the potential of healthcare at scale. Those are two things. And I'm not saying these are things that need to be factored into the price right now, but they're definitely things that you need to think about as a long-term investor, because this is the only, I think only retail is actually looking at that shit. I don't think fucking these Wall Street analysts actually are talking to people like CodeStrap. That video has 2,000 views. Probably none of them have actually seen that take, because if they watch those 6 minutes by CodeStrap, you start to think about shit a little differently, right? And so I think that's important to understand. Amit, please retire that old blue sweater. I have had this since 2018. I don't buy new clothes, so it's going to be hard to retire it. And plus the sweater looks, it feels good. It's a good hoodie. It's easy. Amit, what price does Palantir have to go to retire you? Well, I don't know. What's retirement? Like a couple million? It would have to be, $200-300. It would have to be more than that, because I don't have that many shares. I don't have 10,000 shares, right? So it would have to be a lot. I don't think Palantir is going to retire me. I think I got to work my ass off still to get retired. Got a lot of work to do. Plus, retirement's kind of boring, bro. Retirement's pretty boring. I would rather be doing. Warren Redlick was on the show yesterday, and near the end of the show, I asked him, hey, if you sold out a Tesla, do you think you'd be bored? He's 57. I'd be like, do you think you'd just be bored with your life? Because yeah, you might make $10 million, but you don't get to participate in the community. You don't get to make content because no one's going to care because you don't have the stock anymore. You're kind of the whole purpose of his life right now, the way I was understanding it, was Tesla. This dude's about to sell his house to buy more Tesla. And so I think at some level, purpose matters more than the money, especially if you think the company has more room to grow, and the fun of creating content and being part of a community. I think that matters more. So that's what we want to keep doing for this foreseeable future. Amazing episode. Glad you liked it. He's very ultra bullish on Tesla. So it was fun picking his brain a little bit and discussing a little bit more. Well, if my tax dollars are going to be grossly misallocated by the government in a faraway land, at least I'll make it back with Palantir profits. Yeah. Palantir's your hedge against incompetence in the government, because at least you'll make some of that money back with defense contracts. That's a good way to think about it as well. Money means more to me. LOL. I hear you though, bro. Yeah, I agree. I had this funny tweet yesterday where I was like, oh, let me just show you this tweet. I think it has to do with Palantir. It definitely has to do with Palantir, but obviously we're in it for the returns, right? It's not like we're not in it for the returns, but I like the journey, bro. The journey's fun. The journey's selling right now, even if you make a couple $100,000, Chicken Genius, that motherfucker is dumb, bro. Sold for I say dumb in the context of yes, you sold, you got $100,000. That's awesome. But if he knew even one inkling of what Palantir was, if he had just held, bro, he would be up $800,000 right now. And then he could sell. Think about that YouTube video. Think about how many clicks that one would get versus 100K profit. And also I think he mistimed the Tesla short. He's been short the market. I saw a tweet yesterday from May. He's been short. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's getting flamed on his short, especially his Tesla shorts, if he is short Tesla. So not really the best. But this is what I said. People be don't get emotionally attached to a company, but all I be doing is catching feelings. Now I say this in a humoric sense. Obviously, if Palantir shits the bed over the next couple of quarters, do you sell the company? Yeah, when I mean shit the bed, I mean everything has to go wrong. But if you get emotionally attached to a company, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, because what I think it does is it keeps you accountable, because you can tell your sister when she effed up, right? You can tell your brother when they made a mistake, because you're emotionally attached to them. So you can be honest with them. And sometimes, look, you might have to cut off ties with your family, because it's not like family's forever. Sometimes they can do some fucked up shit and you got to take a break or you got to leave. So I actually think getting emotionally attached to a company gives you the greatest asymmetrical chance to learn enough about the company to then make a massive investment and allocate your risk reward appropriation disproportionately correct, because there's just more upside because you're emotionally attached and you get the shit that most people don't get. But then if shit goes south, you can cut off ties. And so that's my weird way, my BS way of making sense about how to get emotionally attached to companies, even though I'm probably wrong. But I think there's some logic there. Listen, think about Jeremy and TTCF. That emotional attachment did not serve him. Okay. TTCF is a different animal, because I don't know why the fuck he was emotionally attached to TTCF. I still don't get it to this day why he loved that fucking veganism thing. Look, I think Jeremy, it wasn't a really emotional attachment. He got the thesis wrong. And I think with a company like Palantir or Tesla, the emotional attachment comes from if you get the thesis correct. Now, what is a thesis breaker? deacceleration in growth. Okay, that's fine. But Tesla from 2013 to 2019 was not doing good. They were about to get sold to Apple. Tim Cook didn't pick up his phone, and that's why Elon is still, the world's richest man today. So it's not like 2013 to 2019 was that phenomenal to be a Tesla shareholder. But you go through that mundaneness because you have a thesis. I think with TTCF, there was no thesis, right? His thesis was vegan. Like, I remember watching those videos in 2021. Again, no shade to Jeremy. I'm like really good friends with him. He said veganism is going to happen. And I'm just like, bro, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, right? Like, people like their fucking burgers. And so that thesis, I think, clouded his judgment, and then he got too invested in the company. And then when the company missed their earnings, remember that time when they missed their Q3 earnings or something, and he let it go? It's like, that was a big, big red flag, right? You can't miss your earnings as a public company. So you got the thesis wrong, and then you got explicit red flags. That's when you should have got rid of the stock. But I think an emotional attachment to something where the thesis is correct and the company is competent enough to have an earnings call, I think that's right. He openly said he was too emotionally attached. Well, I agree, but his emotional attachment came from a stupid thesis. Like, if you're emotionally attached to electric vehicles will be a thing in 2019, you made a lot of money. If you're emotionally attached to AI is going to CAGR to 4.4 trillion in 2033, and you need ethical, safe guardrails for implementing AI infrastructure at scale, and no other company can do it, you can go through some bad years and still do all right. Y'all trash of Jeremy talk time, but don't talk about his other winners that has gotten him over 10x. When you say y'all, you're talking about other people, because I love Jeremy and I've complimented him many times on Tesla, Meta, all that stuff. I love Jeremy. So, and he's been on my podcast. So I went to his house. But even he'll admit TTCF was a mistake. So I love Jeremy. I think he's really smart. I watch his videos. He's a smart guy. Obviously TTCF, I think he got the thesis wrong. But a very smart investor in a lot of other places. I think Elf is doing really good for him right now. Elf Beauty, if I'm not wrong. So that's one of his stocks that's been up pretty nicely over the past couple of weeks. It's inevitable to be emotionally attached to a company that can provide you life-changing wealth. I agree. And look, it's more fun when you get it's just more fun to talk. Like, here's my thing. How do you create content around a company that you're not emotionally attached to? You think the Tesla content creators aren't emotionally attached to it? Like, you got to have some level of that, and that allows you to criticize them deeply. Ross Gerber, Gary Black, they criticize the crap out of Tesla. That's because they're emotionally attached to it. They want to see it do well. And the irony is, if you've got a whole community emotionally attached, that actually gives the best probability, in my opinion, for a stock to do really well over the long term, because that community is not going to sell for 15 or 20%. And that community is going to help do more due diligence around the company. That's why building a community around a stock matters. It really matters, in my opinion. No one can call bottoms. I hate people who say things like this. This is true. That is correct. He got Palantir right. I agree. I believe he got Palantir right. All right, so no one joined on the StreamYard. A couple of you guys wanted to join. We have like 5 minutes left, so I'm going to put it again real quick. If anyone wants to join, that's great. We have 4 minutes left, so we probably not. We're going to move on to Finance Junkies in a couple minutes, so I'll get ready for that. But yeah, well, I'll be back here tomorrow, and for those who wanted to join, I'll put the StreamYard and you guys can ask questions. On Finance Junkies today, we're going to be talking specifically about this market that got very frothy, got beat up by JPOW, and then went right back to its opening in the market. So it seems like the dips have gotten bought. I don't know if we're talking about NFX today. I haven't discussed it with the guys. We might leave that for tomorrow. So we'll see. But we'll definitely be talking about that. And then we'll keep going from there. I converted a lot of dividend stocks today to 100 shares of Enphase. Wow. You got to go to Finance Junkies then in a couple minutes. Vitaly will be so happy to see this comment. Vitaly will be very, very happy. Okay. That's it for me. Oh, we got some. Ani, I got 4 minutes left, but you joined. What's up?
What up, man? How are you?
I'm good. You're all in on Palantir as of 1 month ago has been going pretty well for you, isn't it?
It is.
What is
my
your average for
account?
people that don't know? It's like $9, right?
No, it's 780.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're up a lot of money then.
I mean, it is, but again, today I lost a lot of money, right? See, it's not that's
it came down. Yeah.
See, Amit, I'm saying one thing, right? What I feel about Palantir is it's not money at this point anymore. It's just your thesis, and you want to prove to yourself that you made a right decision and you stuck through it to see the Tesla type of returns.
Yep, I agree. Especially with your average. Especially with your average. Because if it goes
With
back
any
to 7,
average, man, It's
Well,
not
I
just
agree.
with my
I agree.
average.
I agree. But I mean, specifically for you, you got in at the lows. So now imagine it plays out to 2030 and your average is
I
there.
didn't get in at the lows. I averaged it down.
That's true. That is true.
You know, I felt very happy because, you know, a lot of investors keep saying that whatever thesis you got, your stock needs to go down when you're buying it, and it needs to go up after you're done.
Correct.
See, that thesis is playing out with Palantir really well, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah. Just before I go away, one more thing I wanted to tell. I don't know why people are complaining about it's so expensive, man. Even before all this AIP and shit, Palantir was $40. See, many people
Yeah,
will say it's
rates weren't
meme
as
stock
high.
rally and
That's the
all
only
that
thing.
things, but again, that's a price which has been printed on the chart, right?
That is correct. You're not wrong about that. It's just interest rates. We were at a totally different environment, so I see people's concern. But I agree, it's touched 40 before, so it could touch 10
Yeah.
with worse metrics than it has right now.
Yeah, so it's actually it's a level which the price of the stock tested. No matter what the interest rates are, but at some point you have a projection of interest rates going down, right?
That is true.
And market is always 6 months or 1 year ahead of what's currently happening.
That is true. Look, you got them calling me a bear now. All right, I gotta go to Finance Junkies. I'll see you there. Thank you, Ani.
Yeah, see you
on that
there,
one.
man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. See
Bye.
you on Finance Junkies starting now.